You ever stop and think about what connects the sourdough bread from your favorite bakery, the beer in your glass, and even some of the medicines that save lives? Well, there's this powerful, ancient, and totally invisible process going on all around us. It's a world of tiny factories working 24/7. So let's dive into this hidden world of fermentation. We're going to start in a place that's super familiar, your kitchen. Now, if you look at the foods we're about to see, they seem completely different, right? From tangy veggies to creamy yogurt and savory sauces. But believe it or not, they all share a secret. So, what is it? What could possibly tie all of these together? Well, the answer is a single, totally natural process that we humans have been using for thousands of years. It's kind of like a controlled, microscopic magic trick that we call fermentation. All right, now let's zoom in. And I mean way, way in. We're leaving the kitchen behind for a minute and going down to the microscopic level to see what is actually going on when something ferments. Turns out it's less about magic and more about some really clever biology.
Okay, so here's the key takeaway. Fermentation is basically how tiny living things make energy to survive when they can't get any oxygen. You can think of it like their backup generator. It kicks in and turns simple sugars into the power they need to live. No oxygen required.
And here they are. Meet the stars of our show. These are the tiny factories, the microscopic chefs doing all the heavy lifting. We're talking trillions of microorganisms, mostly yeast and bacteria, and they are the little engines driving this whole process.
So what's the fuel for these tiny factories? Well, it almost always comes down to some form of sugar. It doesn't matter if it's from grapes for wine or grain for bread or milk for yogurt, the microbes break it all down into one simple starting molecule. Glucose. And this right here, this is the universal starting line for everything we're talking about. This first step, it's called glycolysis, and it's always the same. It's the process of splitting that glucose molecule in half to create something new called pyruvate acid. This is where the real journey begins.
And get this, you've actually experienced fermentation inside your own body. Seriously, when you're doing an intense workout and your muscles are just screaming for more oxygen than you can give them, they switch over to this backup generator. That burning feeling, yep, that's lactic acid, a byproduct of fermentation happening right inside your muscle cells. Okay, so once we have that pyruvate acid, the process can head in a couple of different directions. Think of it like a fork in the road. And the path those microbes choose to take, well, that determines the incredible variety of fermented products we end up with.
Let's look at the two main highways here. On one side, you've got lactic acid fermentation. This is where bacteria, like lactobacillus, create that classic tangy, sour flavor in stuff like yogurt and kimchi. Then, on the other side, you've got ethanol fermentation. That's where yeast comes in to create alcohol and also the carbon dioxide gas that makes bread so fluffy and beer so bubbly.
This map just shows you how wild the possibilities are. See, everyone starts with that pyruvate, but from there, different microbes just take it and run with it. Lactobacillus makes lactic acid. Saccharomyces yeast makes ethanol. Other microbes can create acetic acid, which is just vinegar, or even more complex stuff. It all comes down to which microscopic chef you've got on the job.
Okay, so we've seen how this all works in our food. But, you know, we humans are pretty good at taking a neat idea and scaling it way, way up. So now, let's step out of the kitchen and see how we've harnessed this ancient process to build massive global industries.
130 billion liters. What on earth is that? Well, that is the estimated amount of bioethanol produced around the world every single year. It's a biofuel that can power our cars and cut down our reliance on fossil fuels, and it's made almost entirely through industrial-scale fermentation. And it goes so much further than just food and fuel. Fermentation is really the cornerstone of modern industrial biotechnology. We use these tiny factories to create life-saving antibiotics like penicillin, to produce amino acids like the one that gives us the umami flavor in MSG, and even to mass-produce the powerful enzymes that get the stains out in our laundry detergents. It's everywhere.
So all of this brings us to the future. Because this ancient process, something that started in kitchens thousands of years ago, is now becoming one of the most exciting technologies we have for building a cleaner, more sustainable world.
The big idea for the future is something called a biorefinery. So just picture a normal oil refinery. But instead of pumping in crude oil, the raw material is renewable biomass. You know, things like leftover corn stalks or other agricultural waste. And instead of using harsh chemicals, the core technology is fermentation. The process is it's really elegant. You take what used to be considered waste, you break it down into simple sugars, and then you just let the right microbes go to work, fermenting those sugars into biofuels, bioplastics, or other valuable chemicals. It's a system built for a circular economy, literally turning trash into treasure.
And the potential just keeps growing. I mean, get this, scientists are now figuring out how to use specialized bacteria that can produce pure hydrogen gas as a byproduct of fermentation. This could open up a brand new path for creating clean, zero-emission fuel.
So this leaves us with a pretty cool thought, right? The very same process that's given us bread and cheese and wine for thousands of years, these tiny, ancient biological factories, they might just be the most advanced technology we have for building a truly sustainable, bio-based future for our entire planet.